I'm going to bring up our next presenter, Sam, who is a crazy guy, really, because he's a principal and he teaches AP Computer Science. So a unique situation and a very unique and awesome perspective to speak with us today about increasing access to CS, especially at a school level. So we appreciate your time, Sam, and this is going to be a great way to close out our event today.
Perfect. Thank you, Joe. Good to see everyone. My name is Sam Procopio. As Joe said, I am the principal of Bishop Blanchette High School in Seattle, Washington. I'm going to do a quick screen share. Most of mine will be sort of a presentation. I have a few interactive parts, and then I'll leave some time for questions here at the end. Let's see if this works. I'm a little rusty in my Zoom. I haven't been on Zoom in a while, so let's see how I do. Okay, hopefully that looks okay for folks. So this topic just talks a little bit about strategies at the teacher and school or organizational level for increasing access to and interest in computer science. I have, just to give you a little bit of background, let's see if I can change slides here. I'm in Seattle, Washington. I've got my email here. I'll put that on at the end. I'm certainly happy to talk to folks outside of this as well if they're looking for a unique solution for their school. But just to give a little bit of my background, I grew up in Seattle, went to K-12 Catholic schools, went to University of Portland, majored in math, then University of Notre Dame, where I did the ACE, or Alliance for Catholic Education service program, and got a master's there. And then finished up at Seattle University with a doctorate in educational leadership a couple of years ago. And that's when I made my transition to become a principal. But I've been teaching computer science even in my role as principal. I started out as a middle school math teacher, didn't have any exposure to computer science, and then taught for 2 years in a public high school. I taught math in Bellevue at Interlake High School in Washington. And then the last 10 years, I've been a high school math and computer science teacher. The last 6, I've been a principal as well at various schools. I was at an all-girls school prior to my current school, so I have a little bit of knowledge there, and that's when I began teaching computer science. And then over the last 20 years, I've been a soccer and basketball coach as well, so those are kind of my habits or hobbies. So just so I can get a little sense of the room here, I would love for you to just post into the chat your name, kind of the subject taught or position held, your school, what city, just because I'm curious to see where folks are chiming in from. And then one thing you'd like to get out of this session about access and increasing interest in computer science. So I put an example there: Sam Procopio, AP Computer Science A, Blanchette High School, Seattle. And maybe you're interested in how to increase participation in CS among girls. So I'll just pause for like 2 minutes. And I'm just kind of scrolling through some of these just so I can get a sense of maybe some topics to hit on. This is good stuff. Shout out to whoever Joe living by Green Lake. I'm right there. So some questions about how to increase girl involvement, more advanced classes. continuing interest in a diocese or district. Just best practices for keeping interest strong. Maybe increasing access for BIPOC students, students of color, more girls. Online CS courses. I don't have a ton of experience there.
I do.
Okay, this is
The
good.
very last one, Sam. It's as
Yeah.
Someone would like you to give your best pitch on how to make their principal convinced to buy the premium version of Coding Room. So I personally.
Yeah, geez. Okay, pitch for coding rooms. Tell them to call me. I'm like, I should probably work in sales for coding rooms. I love it so much. But I'll try to fit that in there too. Okay, so I've got a pretty decent sense. We've got folks from all over, which is really cool, all over the country, from Arizona to California, Texas, Kentucky, pretty cool. And I'll leave some time at the end. I'll try to pace myself so that we can also just, if anything I say sparks an interest, happy to field it then. Okay, so just to give a little bit of background, I'll talk about 2 case studies. Number 1 for teachers, for the classroom teacher looking to expand access and participation. And from that, I'll be pulling mostly from my experience at my previous school, which was an all-girls school, and what worked well to grow that program. And then strategies for an administrator, which is kind of my current setup, where I am now trying to grow a program, but more so as a principal, not having that teacher lens. So to give a little bit of a background, I taught at Hoy Names Academy. I started teaching in 2012, right here in the middle. But in the roughly 7 or 8 years before I taught, there were about 14 girls that signed up for AP Computer Science A each year, at a school of about 800 students. And then I started teaching it, I think right in here. Actually, I should say I started teaching it in 2011-12. That was my first year. We had 20 kids in it. And then you can kind of see the numbers took off. Within a couple years, by the time I left, we had about 150 girls per year enrolled in a computer science course. So before I start with my topic, just one quick brainstorm. Can people just post one thing they've done to increase access at the high school level or middle school level in computer science classes? I'm starting this way because I think probably people know the strategies, and I want to tap into folks' knowledge to see how many of what I have done y'all have done. So what's one thing, post in the chat, that you've done to increase access? So we've got robotic, increase access, be human, not nerdy, hooking them into the robotics club, student recruiting fairs or elective fairs, being a female teacher yourself, for sure. Personally inviting math students to enroll in CS. Hour of code at the middle school to get folks interested, creating a club. These are all great. And I don't have all these listed on my slides, but every one of these are really good. Like, download this chat and this is all good stuff. Have current students promoting CS courses by going into math classes and making presentations. Absolutely right. Continuous marketing. Parent workshop. I've never done that, and I love that idea. Again, having a female teacher asking students to consider it. These are really good. Having admin support at the school is critical. I would agree. Also thinking about getting into feeder schools to encourage girls. So if you're high school, maybe going to a middle school. If you're a middle school, going to elementary school. So I would say that this group is kind of right on the money. If I look at the roadmap of what worked for me back in the day, and this is 2012, I felt like I was lucky to be in the role that I was at, in that my school, even though roughly a dozen girls were taking computer science per year, it was a high academic school, so there was more of a market. You know, I had students that should be taking that class that maybe weren't taking it. The other thing I had going for me is that it was sort of at the cusp of when a lot of organizations were putting resources into increasing access for computer science. So code.org was founded around then, Girls Who Code, Black Girls Code, and they were churning out a lot of resources that would help. I would say first and foremost, the number one thing you can do, but it takes a lot of time, is individual conversations with students. If a student, having that person reach out to them and say, I think you'd be good at this class for reasons X, Y, and Z, is the number one thing you can do. The hit rate is just so high on them actually signing up for your class. I also found that classroom visits were incredibly powerful. So every year around, we called it forecasting time in January, late January, early February, when the students would pick their classes for the next year, I asked my principal, and this is where you're leaning into administrative support, if I could take 2 days off of school so that I could go to every single math class in the school for 9th, 10th, and 11th graders. And then I would spend 15 minutes in each class and give a presentation, which I'll give a little version of that after this slide. But in that presentation, I would try to pull from data from organizations like code.org or Girls Who Code with current information about why CS is important to study, or how how much the average graduate from computer science can earn, things like that. And then also showing inspiring videos. I would just put on my desktop of my, because I was a math teacher at that time, so I would put on my home screen the desktop of my computer that I would teach on. I would just always have in my classroom stats about computer science specific to my own school. So I would pull my own students and ask, like, are they considering majoring in computer science, et cetera. Some other things that really worked were linking or hooking up with organizations in the Seattle area that would offer internships or other opportunities. And the timing was right. There was a Microsoft high school internship that is fairly competitive, and our school, being an all-girls school at the time, had really good success getting students to be accepted into that internship. But Girls Who Code was another organization that took a few of our students for summer immersion programs. And then I actually partnered with a parent because the program was growing. So parents would come to me, how can I help? I work at a tech company in Seattle. And one of our companies was the founder of a company that's now called CDK Global. And they agreed to create 2 internship spots for the girls at my school. It ended up being 10 internship spots because we had 10 applicants that first year. And so that company now for the last 5-6 years has done a paid high school internship. And that was incredibly motivating for girls at my school, students at my school, to want to take my class so that they could qualify for this software internship. But there's other organizations, Black Girls Code, NCWIT. The other thing, expanding course offerings. We had so many students in our AP Computer Science A course that we needed to create a post AP course. As one of our participants here asked about, how do you expand access to post AP? Now, I didn't even have the technical ability to teach a post AP class. So I partnered with the Microsoft TEALS program, which probably many of you know about. But they actually do, it's kind of unwritten, but they have not just support for AP Computer Science Principles or AP Computer Science A or an Intro to Computer Science course, but they were able to create and provide volunteers and teachers for a post AP class that ended up drawing about 50 students a year from the 150 or so that took computer science the year before. A robotics program helped as well. But as one of the participants said, trying to be as human as you can. And it all comes back down to these individual conversations with students and building relationships with your own current students and with students, in other classes. And if you don't teach, 9th grade, 10th grade classes, having, really selling the math department or business technology department or CTE, wherever that computer science class lands, to have those individual conversations with students around forecasting time. There's also like tons and tons of summer enrichment opportunities that I think have helped expand our program. Stanford offers a ton of free online college level courses. Udacity is one where I've had students they can complete Java or a different language on a self-paced curriculum. Local colleges in Seattle offer summer school for intro to Java, things like that. There's coding camps at various high schools in our area, but then having your high school offer a coding camp is a way of creating leadership from your students that already are at your school. You run a week-long camp for middle schoolers, you have it run by students, and all of a sudden they get paid to have a little job and it grows the program. So that's kind of a little roadmap. This is an example of the background desktop that I'd put on my classes, just when I was teaching math, just so students were always seeing it. You know, we created the Holy Names robotics team, which was Washington State's first all-girls robotics team. Some stats from code.org, 9 in 10 parents want their children, et cetera, et cetera. This was my last couple years, we had almost 20% of our students were planning to major in, that were graduating from the high school I was at, were planning on majoring or minoring in the tech-related field with 20 computer science majors, and then spitting back the colleges that these students were getting into and majoring in computer science at Harvard, Stanford, Penn, Brown, UW, Air Force, Santa Clara. That kind of gets kids excited as well. These are examples of slides when I would go tour. These are dated now, but when I would go tour schools, you know, you just talk about earning income, you talk about a lack of diversity for females. This was a big one in 2012 that I would play that hasn't been, you know, quite a bit dated now, but you can find other videos. Like I just searched before this. Oops, that shouldn't be the right one. Well, there's one that I had. Yeah, here you go. So here's like a Microsoft visioning, video that just sort of talks about what the future could look like. And you show this and kids can't help but sort of see, wow, we're kind of doing things like this already with our devices, but this is way cooler. I want to work or learn how to do technology that might allow me to create something like this. Microsoft visioning videos are pretty fun. You can kind of just see him using augmented reality there. It seems like it's far away, but maybe it's not. So those are some things that work there at the high school level, and I'll take questions there at the end about that. Now, as a principal, I had a different dilemma because I was not boots on the ground. I was not a teacher. I didn't know any students. How was I going to increase enrollment? And if you look back to the year before I was principal, we had 1 kid in computer science intro, 6 in AP CSA. Fast forward to my second year, and we had, or my first year there, or actually that was my second year, we had 39 kids, which was good, but I was like, what do I do? What do I do? So I had to work within the structure of the school that I was at to meet with each department. And our computer science class was housed in the business technology department, along with 45 other elective classes. So when there were 45 other elective classes, you know, why would you want to take computer science when you could take woodworking or digital photography or business law or you name it? And so what I did was I worked with the chairs of every single department, not just business tech, to refine their kind of course requirements. And we landed on a model at Blanchette, where I'm at right now, where every student takes a semester of computer science, and they take a semester of personal finance. It was kind of like, we want to hang our hat as a business technology department on computer science semester and a semester of personal finance. And then if they take an AP computer science, they don't have to take the personal finance. And so what it's done, you know, within a couple of years, you know, we had 2 years ago, we had, you know, 60 kids in the intro. We had 131 in CSP, 53 in CSA. And next year we're looking at, you know, oops, I think these two numbers should be flipped. Sorry, this should be 166 in APCSP, 49 in APCSA. So a little bit down, but 191 in Intro to CS. And these kind of feed each other is what we found. So at Blanchette now, computer science is a required course. And so I mentioned that just to say, like, if you're a school leader in this audience right now, or a teacher in this audience, the best way to enact change or enrollment from a macro level would be to, make it a requirement or make it the core part of the school's, the school's or department kind of mission or end of program benchmarking. One other thing that I think is super helpful for administrators is teacher assignments. Putting folks in who are kind of kid magnets. If you can put a teacher in there that just kids want to take that elective course because, Mrs. Smith is teaching it, the program will grow immensely. And I talked about changing policy. For me, it was a matter of inclusion. That first year I was there was one girl in the entire computer science program, only one out of 850 students. And now we have every single student has to take it. It's 50-50 or whatever our gender breakdown is, or whatever our socioeconomic breakdown is, or breakdown of students of color. So trying to pitch it as an inclusive approach, and then educating stakeholders. People mentioned this in the chat that we have student assembly. We have like student forecasting assemblies where they pick their classes. So I'm a speaker at that, and I talk about, you should take this class, here's why. Educating parents at parent nights about the growth of the program as it's taking off, because it's like a snowball. Once you get some of the kids in it, maybe non-traditional students like a football captain or a cheerleader or whatever it is at your school, it spreads pretty quickly if you can have the right people in the right places. Having students talk to other students, going back and talking to math classes as well is something that we've continued to do. Educating your counselors so that they know why computer science is important and what the programming is. And also we have a school board at our school, like a board of trustees. So educating them on the growth of the program and why it's important. In Seattle, Washington, it's not that hard to explain why it's important, just with all the tech we have here, being kind of a tech hub with Microsoft, Amazon, and the thousands of other tech companies here. But that's an important part of it. And then reporting back data. I try to track college majors. I try to track the increased enrollment so folks can see this program's growing. This is an important thing that we're doing, and here's what's happening. And that's kind of the strategy I took as an administrator. So anyways, I'm talking a lot. I will pause because we're getting close to the time of 7 minutes, but I'll look at questions. You can post them in the chat or on mute. Maybe the chat's the best with 75 of us here. Joe asked, how many CS teachers do you have in the building? We had, at my old school, only names, we had 0. I was a math teacher asked to teach it, so I had to learn on my own. But by the time I left, I trained 3 other teachers to teach it, because we had more demand than we had me to teach it. So I kind of got used to training teachers, number one, how to code. They didn't even know how to code, but also how to teach the curriculum we were teaching. And then at Blanchette, when I first got there, we had 1 teacher who was able to teach AP computer science. And we've now trained, let's see, next year we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 of us teaching it. One of which kind of learned on his own. He's sort of been the spearhead of the AP principles class. He teaches that. We have a new teacher coming on next year who's never coded before, and then another teacher that I've supported doing AP CSA. Yeah, so most people have 1, it looks like. Yeah, any other questions at all? Hopefully this was helpful. I mostly wanted to share my experience. Yeah, are you using CS Awesome for AP CSA? 100% yes. I taught my own curriculum for the first 10 years, which was about 7 at my all-girls school, and then my first 3, including during the pandemic, online and hybrid, with my own kind of textbook, resources, PowerPoints, tests. And it was good, actually. It was pretty well developed. And I finally pulled the Band-Aid off this past year and tried CS Awesome and coding rooms. I decided to just do both, but I didn't do the married version of CS Awesome in coding rooms. I just did the CS Awesome textbook online, and my AP scores were phenomenal. I was able to supplement it with some resources I had done. But the CS Awesome curriculum is so hands-on and student-centered, you can't go wrong with it. And I cannot wait to do the coding rooms kind of new curriculum, new software, formerly beta, but like the new coding rooms with CS Awesome embedded into it, with all the testing that's available for automated grading, the ability to edit each section and embed your own videos or your own content. It's like the perfect balance of structure, but allowing teacher creativity. And I've never been more excited to teach this in 12 years of teaching CS and 19 years of teaching. I cannot wait. It's going to be awesome. So yes. Let's see. Anything else? We only have a couple minutes left. And I put my email on there. If you're someone who, if you're someone who wanted, wants to talk specifically about your school or want to connect me with your principal, happy to do that. Probably my biggest passion in life, certainly professionally, is trying to increase access to computer science. So happy to do that on an individual level. Let's see, time permitting, can you give me your best 1-minute pitch that I can make to my principal to convince them to pay for the premium version? Good, I didn't answer that one, so I will now. So I would just say, I'll try to be role playing here. Okay, hello principal. I just wanted to say that I'm in need of a new software that will really increase student engagement, but also increase my ability to identify students' needs and where they are at in terms of learning material. And it's a software called Coding Rooms that allows a cloud-based editing system. They can basically do my class from anywhere, not just at school. They can do it at home. From any web browser. And this web browser also has embedded the ability for me to kind of make my own curriculum and improve on it. And there's a creativity aspect that I can improve the curriculum, but also it has an online grading feature that allows students to get immediate feedback on whether they're doing problems correctly or not. And it will allow them it will allow me to get immediate feedback on which students are struggling and which concepts they're struggling on. What this does is it saves me from having to spend hours and hours grading each week. And I can then spend my time before and after school helping students learn the content. And from the teachers I've talked to, it's increased their scores, it's increased their knowledge. It's also increased teachers' interest in teaching and their ability to grow the programs. So that's kind of what I would say. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, worth every penny. It's worth every penny for sure. Okay, well, there is about a minute left. So I think my time has come to an end. Again, there's my email. My name's Sam. I appreciate having you guys listen to me, and hopefully you learned a couple things that might help you grow your programs at school or increase access. Again, feel free to reach out if you want to talk specifically about anything I can do to help. Bye, guys.
Thank you so much, Sam. We've